Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Chaos Child. Do we know anything about this story? No. The only thing we know is that it was apparently a decent story, and it was written by the same people who did Steins Gate. So I'm interested. I really enjoyed Steins Gate, and I'm hoping this story holds up. November 6th, 2009 at 10:28 p.m. Came without warning. Alright. A large-scale EMP? No? Something worse. Okay, what just happened there? It was a magnitude 7.8 earthquake with an epicenter directly underneath the city. But why did the helicopter fall out of the air? Like helicopters don't usually give a shit if the ground moves all that much, unless it, like, moves up and hits them. This disaster reduced one of Tokyo's busiest downtown areas to nothing in a single night. On the first one, yeah. The high-rise buildings that had birthed so many trends and fads collapsed as if giving up on their role in society. Black fires spread through the city as individuals fell into the grip of the crowd's psychology. Their terror was magnified, combined with all these things. The text, like... Okay, the text is, like, continuously showing up, on top of chat, so I'm gonna either move that or to close. Yeah, I want to close chat for this. If the text is gonna be like full screen like that, we will have to reformat things. All right. Combined, all these things took many lives. Time ago, make myself some food, then throw it to Snow to eat. Exactly. The final death toll was 3,851. The final number of injured, 30,927. Literally twice as bad as... Just in deaths, twice as bad as 9/11. Alright. This event would later be known as the Shibuya earthquake. Even in all that destruction, people still suffered the most in their hearts. Some who had lost their families came together to share new resolve, while others who'd been forced to watch their friends die were driven by guilt to take their own lives. Yeah, that sounds pretty brutal. Alright. As a baby was miraculously reunited with its parents after 72 hours, a child in an evacuation shelter asked her dad, "When's mommy coming home?" He had no answer. Some of the wounded made it to the hospitals by looking at real-time updates on the web. Others saw people on the internet talking about the disaster as if it were a movie and were driven mad. Wait, seriously? Seriously? Actually got driven insane by seeing like an earthquake happen? Shit, sorry, driven insane by people just be acting like, oh wow, that's a disaster making fun of it. You gotta understand people are gonna do that anyway, right? A homeless man was saved from malnutrition by an organized volunteer group, but at the same time a middle school boy punched a self-centered volunteer who'd come to Shibuya to find himself in the face. It was their first time in the boy's life he'd ever been violent. Tips: PTSD. The psychological toll was incredible, and many of the survivors would later manifest symptoms similar to those associated with PTSD. The young were hit the hardest, and before long, the cause of those symptoms was given a name: Chaos Child Syndrome. But it already has a name. It's PTSD. Alright. Rebuilding happened at a feverish pitch never seen before. It felt inappropriate to say, "hang in there," but people felt that somebody had to do something. The new slogan was Shibuya, a city reborn, and no amount of money or manpower was spared in aiding the endeavor. Alright. The whole town was in the grip of a fever. In private, a leader of the redevelopment efforts said, "This may sound unkind, but this frenzy feels like a town burying its grief by holding a festival." Building codes were rigorously evaluated with an eye towards earthquake engineering. Perhaps in an effort to emphasize the city's safety, security cameras were put up all over town. Shibuya would become a place where everyone could live in peace. Mutes? You guys want mutes back? No, there will be no mutes. At the same time, a rumor began to spread about the earthquakes. Something about this earthquake doesn't make sense. There were no aftershocks, and the damage spread in a strange way. Harajuku and Ibisu, areas only a kilometer away from Shibuya, suffered few casualties and even fewer collapsed buildings. This damage pattern had never been observed in any prior earthquake, and so more than a few pundits claimed Shibuya earthquake might have been artificial. Shibuya's earthquake might have been artificial. Oh dear. Oh dear. Did someone set off a bomb underground? More than anything, some of the survivors all said the same things. I saw a white light. I heard a sound like a ringing in my ears. But we saw a flash, and a helicopter literally plummeted from the sky before any destruction occurred. Too many people experienced this for anyone to laugh it off, but no cause of the phenomena was ever found. It was just more evidence to those who believed something about the earthquake had been wrong. And then, 6 years after the strange earthquake, in 2015, something else was about to attract attention in the reborn city of Shibuya. Alright. Alright. Now that's an interesting pitch. Alright. So 6 years ago, the entire district got leveled by what is claimed to be an earthquake, but probably wasn't. We got our title card drop nice and early. And something might just happen again. Alright. September 7th, 2015.
ではいつも通り3分くらい募集をかけるんで適当によろです。
Alright, you're gonna take 3 minutes for questions. Get to it. It's an unknown man. The voice volume is a little bit loud. The second he spoke, the comment box started to fill. Yuma Utani watched it for a few seconds and then saw the request. When does Haru tell us she's dating somebody? He smiled to himself. See you later, Jacob. It's just what he wanted. Most of the requests were about hot actors or cute idols. His audience was so stupid it was easy to tell exactly what they were going to ask. The problem was always whether the name that came up was someone he knew. That was a question of luck and of how popular they were. But Haru, her full name was Haruko something or other. She was fine. Just a few days ago, he'd forced himself to go to an event he'd rather have skipped and seen it for himself.
Yes.
Okay. Satisfied, Utani got up to get some snacks like he always did. What's he getting for snacks? I personally like chips. Maybe like some donuts here and there. Let's see what he's getting. He lived in a one-bedroom condo located 8 minutes from Shibuya Station. Cost around 150,000 yen per month. That's like 1,500 per month. That's not too bad. It had been built after the earthquake, so the furnishings and layout were modern. Alright, well, that's good. Probably resistant to earthquakes, too. A little more room would have been nice, but compared to the 40,000 yen per month place he'd lived in last year, it was heaven. 40,000. It's divided by 100, right? That's like 400 bucks? Like 400 US per month. That's gotta be a low-end apartment.
来年にはもうちょっと便利なところに引っ越すか。
Next year, maybe I'll move somewhere more convenient. Alright, I think we should... Go Poco. How's it going? Yeah, we're into Chaos Yacht. I'm gonna touch the voice. I'm gonna touch the... Oh, we don't want to quit yet. Is there a... F1, here we go. F1, help. Backlog is F2. Exit is escape. F3 is auto. There is a quick save. A quick load. Config is F9. Oh, there's more pages. Interesting. Alright, we're gonna go to F9. So... Oh man, it quits from anywhere. F1. Oh, backspace is back. This is interesting controls. Alright, F9. I'm just gonna turn the audio dialogue, and the message speed's going to go up a teensy tiny bit. Let's just change that a bit. Move it to about here. Sound. We're just going to change the voices. Move them a little bit down again. They were a little bit loud in my ears. And I don't want to, like, deafen people. We definitely have their sliders here. Alright. Sounds good to me. Saved? Alright. Chaos Child's good? Well, we'll find out. Next year, you're going to move somewhere more convenient? Ah, he's the kind of guy who likes to move every year. I feel like it's really inconvenient to move every year. I don't know if I would want to do that. Yeah, those were some interesting controls. We'll just stick with the spacebar to move story forward. At 21 years old, Utani felt satisfied for the first time in his life. Oh? Satisfied with it? In 4th grade, he'd gotten big into online gaming and stopped going to school. Eventually, he'd stopped leaving his room altogether. Oh, okay. He became a NEET. Or I guess leaving your room altogether is also hikikomori, right? Then he'd gotten addicted to drugs that made him sleepy but did nothing else. Damn, he fucking slid fast, damn. First it was skipping school, and first it was video games, then it was skipping school, then it was leaving your room, and now it's like drugs, sleeping pills, damn. Once, seeing only darkness in his future, he'd planned to commit suicide. Okay, this started out bright and happy. In the chaos after the earthquake 6 years ago, he finally managed to leave his room, but his family had given up on him. After he failed his entrance exams, he went to live on his own in Shibuya and hadn't spoken to his parents since. Well, I'll be honest. If you never leave your room and don't even like attend school, I can understand failing entrance exams if you're, you know, skipping out on doing anything for several years in a row. But from today, this man's life is going to get a hell of a lot more interesting. Let's see where it takes him. As far as they knew, he'd failed the exams 3 times in a row. In fact, he hadn't even gotten to the tests after the first time. Dude. There wasn't anything he wanted to learn in college, or any companies he wanted to work for badly enough. He had no goal in life at all. Alright. But things were different now. Oh! What does he have for a goal?
アットちゃんにもたまには本当のことが書かれてるもんだ。チーズでいいか。
Maybe At-chan tells the truth sometimes. Guess I'll have some cheese. Is that a reference to him going on 2chan? Wait, which one's the actual Japanese chan? Is it 2chan? Like, one of the chans is the Japanese one, and it's like fairly hardcore as far as websites go, assuming you can read Japanese. He took a block of cheap cheese he'd bought at the supermarket out of the fridge. Usually he never ate anything this cheap. Wait, did it just say cheese was cheap? Cheap cheese! Who the fuck says cheese is cheap? It's expensive, man. Anyway. On Nikonia live streaming, it wasn't just what you said, but how you looked when you said it also mattered. Yeah, it is 2chan, right? Utani wasn't a good-looking man, let alone a cute girl. He was just a plain old guy, so to keep his program popular, he needed to make them think he was poor, barely managing to scrape by, in fact. That's why he kept the area around his PC and the parts of his apartment that you could see with his webcam completely plain. Oh, so this guy's like pretending to be broke for money? Last month, he'd finally reached his goal of 4,000 viewers. The man has 4,000 viewers. Anyone should be able to do the math and know you ain't a broke biatch. For a man with nothing going for him like Utani, this was extremely unusual. I guess he's popular. 3 months ago, he'd guessed the winners of a popularity contest a certain idol group was holding, as well as their total number of votes. That must have really paid off. After that, his numbers had been going up steadily. Late last month, when his streams appeared at the top of Nikonia's page, he'd seen a huge increase. I like how they changed the name from Nico Nico to just Nikonia. Barely, they changed like they changed one letter. Right now he'd gotten above 4,500, and it was quite possible he'd break 5,000 by the end of the month. Damn, this guy's getting popular fast. It was around late last year when he'd started to wonder about his power. So it is 2chan. Yeah, I was right. It was 2chan. Okay. So he'd started to wonder about his power. Oh? It was a certain rumor on one of, I'm just gonna read it as 2chan. On one of 2chan's occult boards that made him really start to realize what he had. The name he'd chosen for his stream subtly reflected this. Then I learned that I can see the future. That's the name of his title? Shit, man. That's a long-ass channel title. He took out a knife to cut the cheese. The man's cutting the cheese on cam. The man's cutting the cheese. Of course. We needed to know that, right? There was a strange sound.
Huh?
He thought he'd just imagined it when... That's someone knocking on the door, right? Knock, 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 knock. He'd heard it again. It was coming from the door. Someone was clearly knocking on his door. So what I'm curious at right now is this like a cold start or prologue? Is this like a cold start, prologue, or story scene? Or is this actually like part of the main story? Like, this could be like some weird cold start like we got, or some weird like story that's being told like in Hollow Ataraxia. Or it could actually just be the start. You need to think about the intro to Hollow Ataraxia. Yeah, exactly. It makes me, like, the way we started makes it somewhat unclear if this is the start of our interesting story, or if this is, like, a story being told by someone else. Like, the horror story from Hollow Ataraxia comes to mind. For those of you who haven't read that, Hollow Ataraxia starts with a simple tale completely unrelated to the main characters, and it's like a horror story. And you go through it, and, you know, people are dying, and you're like, oh, this is like a really weird start. And then, you know, the main character finally bites it, and it's revealed that like one of the actual characters from the story Hollow Ataraxia is telling you a scary story, and that's how you're introduced to all the characters. We'll see. We'll see where this goes. We'll see where this goes. So someone was clearly knocking on the door. It's not starting too scary. Jungle, maybe? Suspicious, he walked toward the door to answer and checked the clock. It was 11:41 p.m. Not exactly the normal delivery hours. Well, you never know with those Uber Eats guys. They're willing to work anytime. Oh, come on, I'm streaming right now. Wait, he is cutting cheese live on stream. There you go, guys. Apparently, you can do that when you have 5,000, when you're getting 4,500 viewers. He tried to ignore it, but the knocking continued. It was the same rhythm at the same pace, as if the visitor's goal wasn't to come inside, but simply to make the sound. I checked to see if it wasn't someone trolling you. Utani felt a bit creeped out. He decided to go to the intercom camera to see who it was, but then realized that would be pointless. Only the auto-locking door on the first floor had a camera. The door to Utani's room on the 5th floor had an intercom, but no camera. Does it not have a peephole? Does your apartment door not have a peephole? That's a little bit weird. Like, I've legitimately never seen an apartment that didn't have at least a peephole. Even like hotel rooms normally have a peephole, so you can see who's on the other side, you know, if it's the cops or if it's someone you know. So he's going blind. He's gonna open this door blind. Utani gave up. Damn it, if you want to push the intercom button. Alright, the knocks continue. Maybe it's a drunk? Ooh, I don't know, man. The knocks were too steady for that. There was no voice yelling at him to open up. Alright. He'd seen this door a million times, but suddenly it looked somehow different. Someone he didn't know was on the other side of the wall, demanding entry in the middle of the night. Somehow this made the door seem intimidating. You know what? You know, you might think like, wow, it's kind of lame for this guy, but remember he was a literal shut-in, you know, agoraphobe type who like never left, you know, literally Kikomori, who just didn't leave for several years. So I can understand being like somewhat intimidated by like leaving your apartment or unknown people on the outside, because if you're scared of leaving your apartment, it's definitely like fear of the unknown. It's probably fear of the unknown that's driving you to like seek some like permanent shelter. So unknown people indoors, behind doors, a little bit risky, a little bit scary for you. I like to watch spooky stuff in the dark during October. It's fun. I mean, it is horror movie season, right? It is the right season for all those horror movies. That's why why there's so many of them are set on October 31st. Alright, Utani thought he might look through the people to see who was outside. He was then disgusted to find himself too scared to even get close to the door. See? There was a people, he's just scared. Wait, the intercom didn't have a camera, but it did have a microphone. He turned toward the living room so he could use the intercom and find out what they wanted. This guy, I swear, I'm surprised he didn't just be like, I have to go get. He didn't say anything to his chat. He's live to 4,500 people. He doesn't even respond and say, he didn't even say like, sorry guys, I gotta go. He just like turns around and just walks to the door. I assume he's just guessing chat can hear it. Interesting choice. Interesting choice, man. Utani, it's me. Sorry to come by suddenly. Note, no voice acting. That's interesting. Is this a vision or some sort? Is he hallucinating? He stopped when he heard that voice. It's me. I'm very sorry to bother you at this hour. Utani tried to remember who the speaker was, but found he couldn't. From the tone of his voice and the words, they probably weren't a weirdo. Try not to think about that horror shit. Yeah. Especially when you get one of those good ones. The best thing to do is watch horror stuff right before you go to bed. Because then you just get to struggle you get to struggle when you're trying to go to sleep even more. Always better to just chill it and watch a... Like, you're gonna have to spend like 5 minutes distracting yourself so you can't think about whatever thing you saw. Even if it wasn't that scary, sometimes things just linger in your head and keep you from sleeping for a bit. You gotta like do something else to distract yourself. Alright, when they said I'm sorry, it sounded like they really meant it. Ooh. High-pitched strings. Utani sighed softly with relief and then realized he was still carrying the knife he'd been using to cut cheese. It's a cheese knife. Cheese knives aren't that scary unless you use a regular knife. I'm assuming he's using a regular-ass kitchen knife. It suddenly felt stupid to feel nervous. He quickly laid the knife on top of the sink.
Right, right. 今開けます。どちら様ですか?
Right. I'll open it now. Who is it? Okay. What do we got behind the door? Who do we have behind the door? The only door. It's me, don't you remember? Oh dear, this is so sketchy. He might be hearing this voice. It might be like a hallucination or some shit. Hope your friends burned for what they did to you. What did your friends do to you, Poco? The voice simply repeated itself. But who are you? Utani whispered to himself as he opened the door. Why not just ask who it is? Let's see, is it a friend? Is it his parents? Get spooked by sounds at night after it's bad, because after a couple days ago you were watching spooky stuff? Stuff in the dark and your cat crawls on me. Yeah, that can be pretty scary if like I personally don't like it if my pets crawl on me when I'm trying to go to bed. So I usually actually just close the door, kick them out. If they do that even once. It has nothing to do with not liking it. It's more like I don't like it when they're just like I don't like it when like there's a random ass cat on me. There were people in black coats in front of your house trying to scare you? Oh, so your friends actually did surround your house in black cloaks. All wore black cloaks and surrounded your house, trying to spook you? Damn, alright. You got some interesting friends. Interesting friends. Oh, sleep paralysis, that's never fun. Although, I'm not sure. I feel like half the time you're like, I feel like half the time you experience sleep paralysis, you're actually still asleep, you just think you're awake. And it's like, I've experienced that, I've felt that feeling a couple times, but I actually just like woke up out of like sleep paralysis. Like, I was like, oh, I was actually asleep the whole time, that was weird. Or like, I thought my eyes were open, but I wasn't actually, my eyes weren't actually open. But it's more like a dream of having sleep paralysis. But it felt pretty real, so whatever. Britannia narrowed his eyebrows at the people standing there. Alright, the people. People, not just one, more than one person. He looked them up and down and looked at their faces again. Their eyes met. Who are you guys? Wait, he has no clue who these guys are? Alright. Fans? Uh-oh, strobe lights. Britannia suddenly felt a piercing headache. And he closed his eyes and put his right hand up to his temple. He could feel the blood pounding in his veins through his fingers. He staggered and quickly put his other hand against the wall to keep from falling over. The pain was like the old days when he'd overdosed on antidepressants, but much more intense. That sounds unpleasant. He grit his teeth again the pain and dug his nails into the wall that was holding him up. As he waited for the pain in his fingers to help dull the pain in his mind. Britannia, are you okay? We haven't even seen the door, by the way. We haven't seen the door. We haven't seen the people beyond the door. We're just staring at, like, a white screen whenever the dialogue happens. Which is a little bit suspicious. He heard a voice he'd heard many times before and felt a concerned hand on his shoulder. He somehow managed to ignore the pain and opened his eyes. A worried face was peering down at him. Yeah, I'm fine. This just happens sometimes lately. Yeah, I just casually scream in agony every time I open the door to see someone. Overwork, perhaps? You've been so busy lately, you shouldn't push yourself too hard. I don't know what voice to use for this character, or even if either of these characters is going to stick around long. You're always such a worrier. I'm fine, come in. Shouldn't his first response be, I'm in the middle of a live stream, can this wait? Is this urgent? And like, you know, maybe he's just being polite. But if he is in a small one-bedroom apartment, presumably, people could, if he has a cam, people can see him, right? I mean, he was cutting cheese on camera, so I assume he can. He opened his mouth as wide as he could and moaned, trying to ease the pain as he led his important guests inside. How important can these guests be if you weren't planning on having them? As he turned his back on his guests, he told himself it had been a long time since he'd seen them. Or maybe not. It couldn't have been more than 2 months since they'd last met. And they're just showing up out of the blue while he's working? It only felt long because he wanted to see them so badly. We haven't seen their faces yet. Oh, right. It was nice of you to come by, but I'm streaming right now. While he was out here, he decided he'd cut some cheese for himself and his guests. Oh, don't worry about us. What? I can't do that to you guys. Huh? What's wrong? It's nothing. It's nothing. The blade wasn't cutting into the cheese. That's strange, he told himself as he pushed down with more force. He cut himself, right? He's gonna cut himself, right? He cut into its surface and it made an unpleasant sound he'd never heard before, but no matter how hard he pushed, it wouldn't go further. I swear, I feel like at this point he's hallucinating and he's actually digging into his finger. His fingers, right? No matter how hard he pushes, the knife doesn't go further. And he's really confused. Confused, he yanks the knife back and forth like a saw, but it only cut in slightly deeper. It was as if there was something hard inside the cheese. Even though he'd only just taken it out of the fridge, it was slightly warm. What the hell's going on with this thing? Yeah. Irritated, he slammed the handle of the knife against the cheese. Right? All it did was bash it a bit. He couldn't cut through it. Okay, so I'm fairly certain if you used like actual force, you could probably stab through your hand with a knife. So now I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Why isn't he able to cut through his hand if he's like stabbing? I mean, I'm still thinking he's cutting his hand, right? God damn it. I'll help you. His guests must have heard the sound because they rushed over. They had another knife. When did they get that in? There's a trick to cutting this thing. Oh. A trick to cutting cheese. They put the knife up against the cheese and began to move it with a practiced hand. Sounds like your work is going well. They smiled at Utani, their voices slightly low. Utani realized they were trying to keep their voices from being picked up by the streaming microphone, and lowered his voice as well. Yes. So he's assuming they're trying. So maybe he's not on camera, he's just decided to randomly cut a bunch of cheese on stream. For a bit of a break or something. You had sleep paralysis. At the same time, you had mild hallucinations due to fever. Oh, I thought it would be your sister sitting at the end of your bed, and your first thought was, are you real or not? And on closer inspection, it wasn't the shadow, the silhouette of your sister. It was something else, and your sister moved out a few weeks ago. Ooh, that shadow sleep paralysis. That is when you have hallucinations from fever. Damn, that's gotta be tough, not being able to tell what's real or not. He grinned and nodded. Alright, still thinking cutting hand. His guest had introduced him to a firm that handled advertising space for popular websites, which had been giving him regular work. His reputation had quietly spread throughout the small web advertising community, and soon he was getting more and more offers.
流行を予想することが肝なこの仕事は転職だよ。出来レースみたいなもんだ。
This job's all about predicting trends. It's perfect for me. I can't lose. Then why do these streams?
一言では言いづらいな。
It's hard to say. I guess...
強いて言えば、自分がどこまでいけるか試したいみたいな感じなんだけど。
You could say I'm trying to see how far I can go. That's right. That's right. His power wasn't meant to be wasted on jobs anyone could do.
誰も経験したことないから、誰かに聞くってわけにいかないだろ。だから自分でやれるだけやってみたいっつうか。ってかっこよすぎか、これは。
No one's done this before, so I can't ask anybody about it, you know? I want to do everything I can by myself. Or am I sounding like a show-off? Yeah, sleep paralysis demons can look pretty scary. Of course, it's all a creation of your mind, so, you know. Gotta accept that. People who don't experience it don't believe you. Yeah. I mean, not everyone experiences sleep paralysis. So. But I would imagine most people have experienced, say, a nightmare where there's something where there's something really wonky that they'd think they'd never seen before in real life, because usually your mind, when your mind's like putting people or things together, it composites them from many different elements to the point where you will not immediately recognize them. Sometimes. But I think you could imagine seeing your demon hug you. Well, it's nice to have friendly demons, I guess. It's wonderful, I think. And after he'd smacked it a few times, the cheese was a little funny looking, but even the even slices were lined up neatly on the plate. This is actually somewhat unusual too. As I recall, Japanese people don't like cheese that much. In fact, a large number of people in Asia are also lactose intolerant, so serving cheese to your guests is like an unusual choice, I would say. As not only is cheese somewhat uncommon in supermarkets, unlike North America where we have literal cheese aisles, but yeah, there's a chance your guests won't even like the cheese.
悪いな、働かせて。
Sorry to make you out like that. It's nothing. Go on. I'll wait until your stream is finished. Come again? How many hours would that be?
冷蔵庫の中、適当に見繕ってくれていいから。あ、静かにな。
Thanks. If you want something from the fridge, grab it. But be quiet. Yeah, so sleep paralysis is interesting. Basically, you think you're awake, but you can't actually move, and you'll typically hallucinate. You'll typically, like, either hallucinate or perceive something nearby your bed, either, like, standing at the side or foot of it. And since you aren't able to move or fully ascertain what it is, it can be quite scary. In the moment, that would be. Afterwards, your ability to acknowledge whether or not it was sleep paralysis or a dream probably determines how scary it actually was. Botany took his cheese back to his seat and saw a flood of comments reading, "He's late! Did he log off?" Oh, of course, the classic late. But no pitchforks? What should have been only 3 minutes had turned into more than 15. Botany put a bite of the cheese into his mouth and began to chew loudly.
申し訳ない。この安売りセールしていたチーズがありえないくらい硬くて。
So sorry, I bought this cheese on sale and it's just so incredibly hard. He apologized to the camera, remembered to keep up the act of being poor and starving. Is cheese something for poor people? Because, I mean... As he hoped, the comments started to come in. Then again, he said he positioned things visually, so presumably... He positioned things in the room so that he would look poor, so presumably he's actually using a camera. But a meal of cheese, isn't rice like the ultimate cheap food? Like, but potatoes cost more than rice and go bad. Rice doesn't go bad, is cheap per mass, and very filling. It seems like the best choice, but like, cheese is actually pretty expensive per mass. Like, this chunk of cheese that seems to fill a plate, that's gotta be at least like $5-6 by itself, right? That's not a cheap chunk of cheese. That's like an entire one of those, like, cheese tube thingies. An entire roll of cheese, small cheese roll. It's a cylinder. I don't know what to call the cylinders of cheese, but those are usually like more than $5. Nico now is always like this, right? Oh, wow, there's a lot of things reported. The broadcast will end soon. I heard you have new copies. This is weird. Me sick. You trained in Hollywood. What happened? What? Lots of comments from the internet. What's going on? Botany's face took on a confused expression. The comments were strange. Again, I'm still thinking finger, right? He thought there might be something on the camera, but he turned around and saw only his fake poor room.
どうしました?
Intentionally deceiving people as to your wealth is kind of lame. I gotta say, if something bad happens to this guy and he gets axed in like the first chapter, I wouldn't feel too bad about it because he's kind of being like disingenuous. If he's intentionally trying to deceive people into thinking he's poor. Now, if it's just how he likes to keep it clean and Spartan, you know, that's cool too. I wouldn't actually, obviously as like a viewer, I wouldn't accuse anyone of intentionally trying to make themselves look poor. But given that we have first-hand knowledge from this guy, because we're like third-person omniscient, well, we're like first-person omniscient, we're like first-person perspective from him, we actually know that he's doing that on purpose to make himself look poor, so don't really approve of that. as it seems like he's intentionally trying to get something out of his viewers by appearing to be poor. Your demons aren't scary but surprising. He used to have weird dreams of dogs with human screams or snowmen killing people with snowballs or running from bombs going off and not escaping in time. Classic reasonable fears, especially dogs can be a little bit scary. I mean, you gotta remember, wolves are pretty fucking huge and can definitely kill you, and they're just very large dogs. Even said things your shadow even said things in the voice. The shadow even said things in the voice of your sister. It's like the second counter is similar. You even asked if it's real, and it was pretty calm. Oh, that's interesting. All right, so is something wrong? So our Yuma Utani is kind of like, ooh, what's going on here? All right. He spoke into the camera, but comments still didn't make any sense, and they were coming in faster. Maybe there was a problem with the camera. He reached his right hand out towards it. In an instant, his headache was back. It was the same pain as before. No, worse. He closed his eyes and jerked forward, banging his head against the desk. The pain in his head was so bad he didn't even feel it. He tried to hold his head in his hands, but for some reason his right hand wouldn't move. Instead, he pushed his other hand up against his temple. It felt squishy. The vein was incredibly swollen. It felt like rubber. Each time he felt his blood pulse through it, it was an unpleasant sensation. There was an unpleasant sensation in his fingers. He stamped his feet against the floor, hoping to find some small escape from the pain, but it didn't even get slightly better. It was then that he realized he was crying. He could feel the tears coming from his eyes. The pain was moving there now, too. Shit, alright. Unable to bear it, he opened his eyes. He gasped. Oh shit, that's not looking good. He's like literally foaming at the mouth. I assume that's blood. The whole scene appeared in front of him like some kind of awful magic trick. What's going on? Holy shit, that feels fake. Real blood is blacker. I'm unsubscribing. Can you tell Daddy what happened? I'm trying to read the text. Yeah, let's calm down, guys. It's freaking me out. I usually comment, but now I have to. Oh shit, that's a lot of comments. They're actually very hard to read, but we get the gist of them. Alright. People are like, what the fuck? People are going like, what the fuck? Some people don't believe it's real. He suddenly heard the sound of something wet dripping onto the floor. His eyes reflexively turned toward it. His right arm was gone at the elbow and the stump was gushing blood. There was a pool of it on the floor, and the sound he heard was the new blood splattering into it.
Huh?
Utani didn't understand what happened to him. What was going on? He'd just gone to check on a knock at the door. The pain screamed within him. Any sense of pain in what remained of his right arm was overcome by the pain in his head. He felt nothing from his arm at all, though he saw the blood dripping to the floor. What the hell was going on? He blinked and forced his aching eyes to function as he looked around the room. This is a call 911 situation. We briefly saw his arm there. But to be fair, he's probably lost a lot of blood. It was clearly delusional and not understanding what was going on. So I can understand not immediately dialing the phone. Also, most people are right arm dominant, so probably I have a bit of a hard time because his phone's probably in his right pocket. And he's used to dialing. On top of his desk, he found the rest of his arm. Is it gonna fade into existence? It was sitting on a plate. At first, it looked like it was still in one piece, but it wasn't. It was neatly sliced into uniform pieces, each piece about a centimeter wide, and the slices moved neatly towards his fingers. They sat upon the plate in roughly his arm's original shape. miraculously saw there was no blood on the tip of his index finger. No blood on the tip of his index finger. Interesting. He still didn't understand it was really his own arm, but sheer disgust at what he saw caused him to leap out of his chair. What was this? What kind of prank was this? The contents of his stomach flooded into his mouth and he vomited. The pink fluid splashed against the desk. He saw something solid in the middle of it. It was a thumb. It was covered in bite marks, saliva, and stomach acid, but horribly, he remembered it. When did he put that into his mouth? In his pain-filled mind, he suddenly heard a sound he'd never heard before. Each time he heard the sound, the pain in his head got worse. He turned towards the camera, hoping for an answer to what was happening. But of course, there was none to be found. The screen was still filling with comments, but his eyes were too filled with tears for him to read them. As the world turned red, he didn't even realize his lips were turning purple. His lips had turned purple from lack of oxygen, but were stained red with blood from his severed thumb, which he had chewed himself. As he tried to fight the pain, he began to fall unconscious and tears fell from his eyes. The tears seemed pink to him. Katani was weeping blood. He died, still facing the camera. His guests watched the chain of events unfold, then silently headed for the door. Just before they left the room. Goodbye. Ghosts, right? They're ghosts. They said as if nothing at all was wrong and shut the door. I'm bored. Go back to the usual stream. Oh, I recognize that. That's a Sony laptop. The Sony laptop is an Esper Hunter. Well, September 19th, 2015, Friday night. That was a little bit grim. Alright, we have an unknown woman. Whew. Momone Takayanagi had finished her concert. Like always, she stayed behind to help put away the instruments. She even helped clean up the audience's seats. Even though that was a concert hall's job. That was the concert hall's job. A little bit generous, alright. Only after all of that was said and done could she take a break. There wasn't much time left before her solo street concert, but she still had to help anyway. Is that a generosity thing? It'd always been like that. Okay, so it's definitely her choice. Even if it wasn't her responsibility, she couldn't help but get involved. It was like in middle school when one of her friends who wasn't as good at studying asked her for test notes. Or in high school when a girl she knew asked her how to make Valentine's chocolate for a boy she really liked. She'd stayed up so many nights on her own. Her own test grades were worse than her friends, and she didn't have even anyone to give chocolate to on Valentine's Day. In the end, it was the other person's responsibility, not hers, but... Basically, I'm just a huge wuss. Momone Takayanagi was at heart scared of not doing everything she could, even if everything wasn't her responsibility. The concert today was another big success. Sure, it was a tiny room that could only fit in 150 people or so, standing room only, but tickets were 3,000 yen, high for a band with an amateur vocalist like her, and they still sold out instantly. That's pretty good, 150 fans that'll buy her tickets immediately. It was bizarre how excited the crowd was. She'd heard sobs during the ballad, and during one of the high-tempo songs, the audience had actually stood up all the way to the back row. I thought it was standing room only. Come again? This is impossible. She felt a chill and hugged herself slightly. You and your sister were joking around that her shadow will visit you to look after you after the first time. Weirder thing is, before you had sleep paralysis, your sister had one nearly the same but reversed, and the shadow was you. Yeah, I did read that. I did read that. Very interesting. And Xenon's asking what everyone's biggest fear is. Xenon does not like drowning or heights. Falling to death sounds terrifying, and you almost drowned at least twice as a kid. Yeah. That's a tough one. I've read too many sci-fi horror novels to actually be afraid of mundane deaths. Drowning seems relatively peaceful, to be honest. Like, well, I've read enough of enough worse fates than death that I'm scared of half of those more than I am most mundane deaths. Like, okay, yeah. Yeah, like, falling could be scary. I guess it would be over soon. But it would be over soon. I feel like that's a lot of death. It's like, well, you know, getting shot and bleeding to death sucks, but if you're shot in the right place, I mean, you'd probably die fairly quickly if you bled out. You know, better. I feel like it would be worse to just linger whenever like you're going towards your death. It's worse to just linger for a long time. Like, oh, you got some serious injuries and you're in pain and it sucks and you know you're gonna die and you can't really move or do anything. I feel like that would be way scarier or worse than some of the shorter deaths that are like a few minutes of like a short-ish period of suffering. You were shot in the hand when you were a teenager. No, that's interesting. So do you and your sister start to summon Angry Mango soon? I mean, I wouldn't summon him unless you want to be caught in a time loop forever. Unless you want to be caught in a time loop that doesn't actually result in anything ever changing, you're just stuck in a time loop. Because that's his ability. It's scary for you because of past experience, even though you can swim well enough. And still, I mean, that's fair. Like I said, it's not unreasonable to be concerned about, to be afraid of drowning. And it is like a reasonable fear, you know? You go swimming in a lake or the ocean and you're like, yeah, I could get caught by a nasty undertow and dragged out to sea, or dragged under or pulled out to sea by the tide. Like, yeah, perfectly reasonable. Or even just to drown in a pool because like you hit your head when you're diving or something. Here, when you're diving, you get disoriented by when someone hits you, or you hit a wall or some shit. Like, who knows? Or even just like not having the strength to swim back. Like, I can understand that. You're more referencing Heaven's Feel and the Shadow. Ah, okay, you want to summon that Angremon, the one from Heaven's Feel? Definitely wouldn't summon that one. Don't do it. That one ends the world. The one from Hollow Ataraxia is just like some random serial killer who is basically a glorified serial killer who will also just put you in a time loop where you can't do anything of value. I guess in theory, if you keep all your memories of the time loop, you can learn things, but typically I don't think he would do that just for your amusement. Alright, so our character, it's not that her band wasn't popular. It started out in the Nikonia Sang It category. And it kept going by doing covers of popular anime songs. Well, I'm interested. It helped that her face, which earned her the nickname Scarecrow in school, could look really good when she wore makeup. And if all of them put on ridiculous costumes and acted like idiots, some people would enjoy that. The 2 times you almost drowned, you didn't know how to swim in the deep end. Okay, here's a good tip. Don't swim in the deep end if you don't know how to swim. And I don't mean like no 400 swim moves. I mean like if you don't know how to like tread water and can't like, I don't know, dog paddle your way to like the edge. I feel like it's pretty reasonable to be like, yeah, I'm just not gonna go past this line. That's what I would go with. Just like play it pretty safe until you know how to do that. Like, you know, I think reasonable people can, even at a young age, can be like, well, I don't know how to handle this, so I'm just not going to do that. Normally you'd ask who's soccer between you and your sister, but it's obvious. Who's your Shiro then? Yeah, that would be me. Apparently that would be me. Yeah, you're allowed to be. I feel like it's perfectly reasonable to be a little bit scared of drowning when you've almost drowned a couple times. That's not unreasonable. As a lot of fears are formed from past experiences, especially when you're younger. To my knowledge, at least, that's how a lot of it works. You're like passive and recurring fears. That is one classic theory, right? You were so scared during swimming lessons, you'd be terrified and sometimes cry on days where they had the pool set as deep. Yeah, that's rough. That's rough. It sounds like you were at least able to get over it somewhat. Because you phrased not knowing how to swim in the deep end in a past tense way, so in the past tense. So I assume that means these days you could probably swim in the deep end no trouble. Yeah, I can understand that being pretty rough if you're that scared of drowning and have almost drowned before. But I'd say the best I could say is in that situation, at least you're surrounded by someone who's watching a small group of people. That's why you're never afraid of swimming, but the ocean in deep dark water is pretty scary, and that's why you can't play Subnautica. Deep dark water can be pretty scary. You don't like the dark, you don't like the idea of being crushed underwater, or having your oxygen fail and realizing that no matter what you do, you're dead. Because you could swim up as much as you want, but you'll never make it to the surface in time. And like, even if you somehow made it, you'd literally die from the bends. Or too much oxygen, or the oxygen in your blood from rising too quickly. Right? To be more specific. You get, I believe it's, what is it? You get oxygen bubbles in your blood if you ascend too quickly. Right? If you ascend too quickly and do any breathing. Or just ascend in general. I don't remember. I'm not a diver. I don't know. I'm not an expert on that subject. I just know it's really bad if you ascend really quickly from deep water. Assuming you're not in a wholly pressurized environment. Even then, I think you still have to depressurize a bit, right? Submarines have to depressurize when they go from really deep. I think you do have to depressurize for a bit, right? If all of them put on ridiculous costumes and act like idiots, some people would enjoy that. Okay. See, this is why I don't like taking massive, unrelated subjects. What is going on? We started out in the Nikonaya Sang It category. It kept going by doing... No, I'm just gonna... There we go. Okay. So, she looks really cool in makeup, and she's telling the story of how she started her band. Or how they got... her idol group got started. If all of them put on crazy costumes and act like idiots, some people enjoy that. Alright. Seems fair. They're streaming on Nihonia. Videos of their concerts and performances pulled a decent number of views online. Oh, cool, cool. But Takai Yanagi noticed... What did she notice? A creepy superfan? The vast majority of people looking at the videos were people who'd come to her concerts. People who'd experienced that insane intensity were going back to the videos to try and feel it again. And Takanayagi knew they probably wouldn't even feel 1% of it. It's just impossible. The ticket prices and audience sizes were one thing, but the strangest thing to her was their eyes. Their eyes pierced right through her, unblinking. They were like pets, totally dependent on their master. The meaning of the lyrics began to take over their lives, and they never even questioned it. There has to be something wrong with my voice. When she first realized this was happening, she tried to quit the band. Even if she couldn't, she at least wanted to stop doing live shows where people heard her directly, but the others around her wouldn't let that happen. Your voice is amazing, they'd tell her. They forced her to keep singing, even as the concerts began to terrify her. Takanayagi tried to get out of it, but in the end, she kept giving in. She owed her fellow band members for getting a plain, dull girl like her into music. And for a while, part of her managed to have fun. But in the end, Takanayagi lacked the tiny bit of courage needed to break out of the cycle. She forced herself to get up and head towards the street concert, which she really didn't want to go to. Really didn't want to do that. Oh, that's an interesting text message notification. Fear of heights. Fear of heights is a good... I can understand being afraid of heights. Also perfectly reasonable. After all, it's not completely unreasonable to be put in a situation where a fall could injure you. I mean, it's not very difficult. Not very difficult. A flight of stairs is more than incapable of breaking bones or killing you. Now, whether or not you're likely to die walking downstairs, pretty unlikely these days. More common depending on some variables, like, for example, I believe inconsistent stair widths, inconsistent stair heights are both, and incredibly narrow stairs are all contributors to increasing the likelihood of making you fall downstairs or trip while going up or down stairs. Watch a lot of creepypasta. Oh yeah, creepypasta. Watch creepypasta. I thought creepypasta was written stories. I thought creepypasta was written stuff. That's why it's creepypasta. It's literally copy paste but creepy. Copy pasta but creepy. We've received an email. Oh, okay, that's her email notification. Then she's going to a concert and her notification is audible? She read it slowly. Oh, way. She'd almost dropped her smartphone. She read it again and again, trying to control her shaking hands. It was nothing special, just a simple message about one of the songs she'd made. Good song, keep it up. Oh no, it's these ghost voices. Oh wait. Takayanagi tried to stop the tears, but she couldn't. It's gonna take me a while to make that name sound natural. The band would get too many messages like this to count, especially after concerts. She knew it was rude, to be honest, she was sick of them. But this email address wasn't for her band. It was one for a site where she had anonymously uploaded original songs. In other words, whoever sent this message hadn't come to her concerts. They'd never heard her voice live or felt its strange power, but they'd still said they liked her song. Really? So right now, I think she's under the impression that her voice is like hypnotic and mind controls people. So having someone like her song when they've never heard her voice is big to her because she's under the impression that it's like only because they've heard her live voice, and basically she just sent song lyrics and someone's reviewing. However, my issue is we got that white screen in text. That's a big red flag given the previous scene we saw. Some Ordinary Gamers used to be a creepypasta reading channel. Oh really? Interesting. You found creepypasta boring, cringe, and unlogical, pretty illogical or stupid? Oh, it's okay. I mean, it's hit and miss. I feel like most written stories you find on random forums on the internet that are told for like amusement or interest, you know, as creepypasta is, very hit and miss, because again, you're either getting old good stories or you're getting new stories from like generally very, very low quality or very mixed quality authors. Not that I'm like saying, you know, it's bad they shouldn't write creepypasta or write stories, but let's be honest, if they had a good enough idea and they were an amazing writer, they would probably be published already. And if they aren't, like, you know, or like they'd be writing a book, or they'd be writing a short story collection for something, like, in general, I would say. Obviously, there's some gems. I've personally read lots of good short stories, or at least what I would say are good short stories, even if they're like only a couple paragraphs long. But yeah, you don't expect like super high quality. Slenderman's one of the few it appreciates. Yeah, Slenderman, in concept, I think it's okay at the start. I feel like it got pretty overdone pretty quickly. Yeah, there's definitely some good stories in there. It's just you have to realize you're gonna wade through a bunch of crap because it's basically unsorted, and anyone can post a creepypasta, including, you know, wherever they write. So I could write something, you could write something, and, you know, I'm not necessarily an amazing author, but I could still write something. Alright, wiping away tears that wouldn't stop, she quickly wrote a response. Makes me really happy. Thank you. I can understand. She's really happy. Even after she sent it, she kept crying for a while. She hadn't cried this much since the earthquake, and then she stood up. Stupid things. She took her costumes for the day's concert out of her bag, balled them up, and threw them in the trash. It was a white caped outfit worn by some angel character in some anime. Certain fans really loved it, but she didn't care about it at all. She took a wet towel off a nearby table and violently wiped away her makeup. I think I'm okay with being a scarecrow. She was never wearing another cape or putting on makeup to look like an anime character again. Never, she said out loud. She realized she was more excited than she'd ever been before. And then she started to realize what she wanted to do. I guess I could just leave Shibuya. I'm sure things are gonna get messy here. What would happen if she said she was gonna quit the band? It'd cause trouble for a lot of people, definitely. Her band was scheduled to play in the Restoration Festival, but even so, she never wanted to sing at another concert.
いつもストリートライブをやってる道は常連さんと勝ち合っちゃまずいから避けて大丈夫かこの顔だし
I shouldn't use the street where I've done shows or my fans will see me. Wait. I'll be fine with this face. She laughed and kissed her smartphone.
やばい楽しい
This is so much fun. Wow. She couldn't wait to get home and start fiddling with her music. Over the web, she could really share her music with others. As long as they weren't hearing her voice live, it would be fine. If she just played a recording from a speaker, for example.
小型のスピーカーなら家にもあったな
I've got a small speaker in my house, don't I? That's right. She'd leave Shibuya, and when she had a few more songs, she could record them and play them at a street concert. The speaker was small enough she could fit it under her clothes to fool people. It would be rude to do the same song every time, so each time she'd re-record it at home. Oh shit, it's the knocking. Oh shit. There was a knock at the door. One of the staffers, perhaps?
もう出ますから
Gee, I'm coming. You like Pokemon themed creepypasta. Interesting. I haven't read many Pokemon themed creepypasta, I'll be honest. She smiled and answered them. Now that she'd thrown away her clothes, her bag was lighter than she ever imagined it could be. The lightness made her think about the future. She was happy. Knock, 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 knock. Oh boy, they're knocking. Coming. Takaniyagi happily danced towards the door, completely ignorant of what was on the other side. Why would staff be knocking? Couldn't staff open the room themselves? September 19th, 2015, Friday night. Shortly after she finished, she was walking through Shibuya. She had a limp and dragged one leg behind her as if it was injured. Her bags were unnaturally long. Most of her face was covered by them. She wore a dark-colored dress that seemed to melt into the night, and above it, a bright red cardigan. Okay. Her chest, arms, and legs were almost completely covered. Despite the fact that the night was still warm, she wore gloves as if it were a sin to show any skin at all.
ごめんなさい
Sorry. She ran into a couple coming out of the hotel and staggered slightly. She didn't even look at the people she ran into. She's got long white hair, alright. She looked down and disappeared into the streets of Shibuya.
誰きめえな
What was that? Talk about creepy.
ねえ今の人の顔見た
You see her face?
Huh?
Wonderful people.
だよ
But why?
気持ち悪い
So weird.
何あれ
What was that?
何あの目
Eyes were so weird. Okay, Digital Native, Chapter 1. Oh, is she dead? Let's see if we continue with her or we start with a new person. That'll determine whether I think she's dead or not. I mean, it applies she's super dead, right? Ah, we started with a new person. She's super dead. A fear of being chased by... Yeah, I mean, in this case, the ghosts are stalking her, dude. Like, she's probably super dead. After all, that is the ghost voice. You think we meet her? We might meet her. I'm curious to see if she ends up getting murdered by the ghost. We might meet her. We might meet her because she hasn't actually died on screen. But she's definitely being stalked by the murder ghost that convinced the guy to cut off his own arm. So, convinced and helped the guy cut off and chop up his own arm, so... I mean, I'm thinking it's ghost. It might be a delusion, but the fact that we saw, like, 2 instances of kind of the same deal going on, where it's, like, white screen, the text, the weird knocking... It seems like she's probably dead. Or, like, on the way to dying. For example... Let's say you asked a kid in middle school, do you know what Schrodinger's cat is? This is a completely new character, by the way. Most would say yes, or I've heard of it. We'll start by eliminating the DQNs, who say they've never heard of it. Next you'll ask, well, what is it? Next we eliminate those poor fools who say, it's something about a cat in a box, right? There's this cat, but you don't know if it's alive or dead, right? Or maybe they'll say, there's a cat in a box, and next to it there's a device that may or may not give off poison gas, and you don't know if the cat's alive or dead until you open the box. Everyone knows that. We can eliminate these show-offs as well. Wait, why? Anybody from these groups is a wrong-sider. I'm gonna check. Tips. Tips are F4. Okay. And I can actually press F4. I'm going to read a couple of these tips just to see if there's anything interesting. Alright. Wrong side, or someone on the wrong side of the digital information divide. Originally referred to those who for various reasons found it difficult to use IT, internet and technology. Also refers to people who can't use the information they have, or simply... How do I... Seriously? Square brackets. Interesting. On internet message boards, the terms used to refer to people whose understanding is incorrect or whose information is out of date. Miyashiro uses this term in the latter sense of the word, not in its original meaning. Okay. DQN. Japanese net slang, pronounced do-kyun, refers to people who are stupid, antisocial, or delinquents. Interesting, I didn't know Japanese net slang. We're learning something. Do-kyun. Stupid, antisocial, or delinquents, but apparently they're knowledgeable sometimes. Saying it's a category. Alright, W. Net slang, this would be grass, right? Japanese counterpart for the English lol, short for warai, which means laughter. It's also said to find its origin in a certain non-Japanese online game which only allowed the use of the English alphabet. By putting W's in the middle or at the end of a phrase, they can indicate that they're laughing, often used on 2chan and Nico, and often used to indicate mocking or derisive laughter. Miyashiro believes a person's use of W is a sign they are of low intelligence and refuses to use it himself. Wow, talk about an elitist. Using W for laughter is low intelligence, so he's like, huh, pff, the man typed lol. What a loser. A complete moron. I will type ha ha ha, very funny. Alright. Jungle, a fictional... Jungle, aka Amazon. Alright. An American online shopping site, the largest in the world. 1 in 5 internet users purchase something from it. Yeah, okay. Sells everything. Nico Video, Japan's largest video sharing service. Nico, live streaming service offered by Nico, yeah. Viewers can add comments into the video, and the streamers can see what they're saying in real time. Official streams. As of 2015, their lineups a match for a major TV station. An anonymous message board. This is at channel, which is actually 2chan. So just take 4chan and make it Japanese. That's basically what you get. It's an anonymous image board, exactly the same style. Let's see. The average age of the user goes up every year. Haru, a fictional character. I don't know who this character is supposed to be. Let's see. It became famous as a result of her bold declaration that no one her age knew about as much about retro games and retro anime as she did, and her ability to back it up on internet, radio, and live streaming. Interesting. And then PTSD is, of course, post-traumatic stress disorder. I hope people have a concept of what this is, but basically, traumatic events can cause disorders, and generally, most of the resulting outcomes are called PTSD. Alright. So, we've read all of these now. Alright. Anyone from these groups where they don't know anything about Schrodinger's cat, or they claim to know everything about it, are apparently wrong-siders. Okay. Continue. The right answer would be to describe the experiment, and then say, it was a thought experiment proposed by Schrodinger to criticize the quantum mechanical theory that state collapse only occurs after human observation. Okay. Yeah, that is a very, very accurate answer. Barely anyone can do that. Yes, because most people either don't remember all of that, or are summarizing it. Like, I probably wouldn't state anything about quantum state collapse if I tried to describe Schrodinger's cat as the experiment, because I don't know what level someone's expecting. That's like a super elitist thing to say. So my perspective on this character is that they're a huge elitist right now. Considering the character has been stated to think people who use W, which is the equivalent of LOL, are of low intelligence, and he wants like a precise and detailed explanation of like something people typically give one-word responses for. Yeah, a huge snob, basically. Like, you don't, when you talk to someone, or when you like post a question on the internet, when you post a random question on like an image board, like you don't know how deep a response someone's expecting, right? So like, if you're talking to someone, I don't necessarily know that they want a 20-minute explanation of something. It's like, well, how do black holes work? And you could give a brief explanation, or like, what is space or something? You could give a brief explanation like, oh, well, it's basically like literally space. There's almost nothing in it. It's a vacuum. There's no air in it, so you can't breathe. Maybe it's super cold, you know, like, or you could like spend 20 minutes giving them a detailed explanation. So, huge snob. All right. Barely anyone can do that, and I imagine I'm the only guy who's still in high school who knows that Schrodinger got the idea after exchanging letters with Einstein. Okay, so this guy basically read a Wikipedia article on Schrodinger's cat and is like, I'm the only person in high school who knows this. Like, alright. Arrogant as fuck is now what we're going with. Because that could just be, that is literally just random trivia. So it's Schrodinger's cat, but like, it's like, this is like the information you would know after reading a Wikipedia article on it, right? It's not even like extremely complicated stuff. It's just like rote memorization for components. I hate wrong-siders. I'd taken a break from investigating the two incidents that had occurred recently in Shibuya and was paging through some of 2chan's blog aggregators for a change of pace. As always, articles about bad idols and corporations with terrible work environments were getting tons of hits. It was hard to believe the crash of 15, a huge news story that had just happened this month, was already off the front pages. It's supposed to be a meme on 2chan, right? Like, do people not... Do the people reading and commenting on these sites realize that everything they read about corporations and idols is carefully controlled? They know that most of the big aggregator sites are corporations too? Oh, they're talking about actual news articles. Yes, most of them are corporations. What about it? Did they realize that the comments were all manipulated to go one direction or the other? Yeah, moderation is fairly harsh on news sites. That's fair. Kids our age were living in a world where all the information you could ever want was right at your fingertips. To those of us in the enlightened generation, ignorance was the worst sin. The ignorant were self-righteous, easily manipulated, and eager to push their paper-thin worldview onto others. I mean, I can understand his distaste of people like that, but he seems to be lacking in empathy. They were nothing but a nuisance. The worst of the lot were the so-called otaku. I couldn't stand otaku. They were wrong-siders. Oh. Take the picture on the cover of this magazine. It was from Bloodtoon. Okay. Any otaku who just watched it for the cute characters was a loser. Okay, please explain. There was no point in watching the show if you were going to ignore its deeper themes. We're keeping with the snobby part, where he's like, how dare you like a show because it has cute waifus in it. Disgusting. Think of the deeper themes in this, what is this, a knockoff? Evangelion knockoff. Like, come on, get real. Actually, hold up. What was it? Blood Tune. I don't actually know what that's parodying off the top of my head. I must be wrong. I must be a... Hold up. I must be... Blood Tune, the animation of manga turned... Yep. Let's see. Can I... I must be a wrong cider. Damn. Alright. I couldn't stand people who still held to the old-fashioned idea that only otaku watched anime, but people who ignored the show's themes and just watched it for the cuteness were even worse. This guy hates people who likes cute shit. Alright. He's like, it has to have themes. It's the themes. It's the story they're trying to tell. Well, this guy's gonna hate a lot of people, I'm gonna be honest. This guy's gotta hate a lot of people, because, you know, there's lots of people who watch action movies to be entertained, and action movies generally have, like, jack shit for themes. Or any real deeper meaning. Same with most shonen, to be honest, because they just go power of friendship 90% of the time. Like, this guy's gotta hate a lot of fucking media, holy shit. They were ignoring the implicit social criticism hidden in...
Nani?
What? I stared at the magazine in amazement. Specifically, I stared at the box that listed the next episode previews. The text said that Eren was missing.
Bakaka!
Idiots. Damn it, I'd let my guard down because I knew this episode was written by the guy who wrote the original manga.
この原作者は原作のことが分かっていない。
The original author doesn't know anything about his own fucking work. How could you remove Eren from the story halfway through? Not keeping her around and bring all the internal drama that had been built up so far to a halt. God damn it. So much for my change of pace. I knew I had work to do on the case, but I put it away because I couldn't find any link between the two crimes. I thought for a moment, then took my magazine from its secret stash. It was an issue of an older magazine called Cool Cat Press. People called it a dating guide for normals written by someone who'd never dated a girl in his life, but you'd be surprised.
女性が必ず落ちる告白の言葉?
Magic words to make any girl fall in love with you. Very believable. Stupid. Oh, sorry. I knew it was stupid. But when I ran internet search for their #1 phrase, nothing came back. That was the thing. The fact that it didn't show up on the internet meant to me it was worth something. I know this is extraordinarily
誠に勝手なのですが、
selfish of me, but
好きになってもいいですか?
I fall in love with you. Do people fall for that one? I mean, it's not terrible.
何を?
It's who? I like the stylistic text they use for their names in Japanese. Hard to read, but cool. His heart probably just jumped into his fucking throat.
何してんだ?
Oh, a standard sprite. Alright. What are you doing? He must be a regular character. A fan. Yeah, he's one of those fans who knows better than the author and makes his own fanfic calling it true canon. Oh my god. I feel like he's the kind of guy who'd do that. Jesus. He's enough of a snob. He's enough of a snob that he'd put in that effort and be like, I fixed your story for you. He'd even like at the author with that line. He'd be like, if the author's on Twitter, he'd be like, fixed your story for you, dumbass. And he'd like post like his fanfic and people would be like, are you fucking serious, bro? I turned to yell at the voice.
Oh?
Onoe! お前いつ?
When did you get here? I hid my favorite magazine behind my back and tried to calm my racing heart. Even if we'd known each other since we were kids, don't just come in like that.
ノックしたよ。てか、何その雑誌？面白いの？
Akira Onoe. I did knock. What's that magazine? Anything interesting?
なんでもない。
It's nothing. I couldn't let her find out. This is bad. This is bad.
どうしたんだよ。
What's going on?
なんで制
Why are
服
you
着てるん
wearing
だ。
your school
帰
uniform?
ったんじゃないのか。
Didn't you go home? This place looks really crowded. Maybe it's just me, but it feels very claustrophobic in here. Sarika frowned.
今日の部活で事件のこと調べてこいって言ったのタコじゃん。
You're the one who told me to go investigate the crime scenes for our club today. Oh, okay. That's right.
はい、これ。
Here
追
you
加の
go.
現場周り
More
の
pictures
画
from
像
the
デー
crime
タ。
scenes. Oh, they're actually investigating crime scenes? Sarika took a USB memory stick out of her purse.
おありがとう。
Yeah, he's living in an...
ついでに
It
僕の
looks like he's
PC に
living
入
in
れ
an
ちゃってくれる
RV.
か。
Hard to tell. Thanks. Could you transfer it to my computer for me while you're at it? Yeah, it looks like that's where he's living. Oops. A camping bus being a snob. Well, he's clearly not a snob about living spaces. You're right, the wooden paneling screams that this is an RV of some sort. Sarika looked a little confused.
珍しいね。自分の PC 触らせるなんて。
Never let anyone touch your computer.
別にお前はいいよ。
Not really. You're allowed.
ふん。
It's Bell's via voice actor or Soma's? Oh, interesting. Or... Yep, that means it's Kirito's voice actor. Interesting. She didn't seem to think much of it as she'd started to copy the data off. Alright, here's my chance. The RV was cramped. There we go. It is in fact an RV. As we said, the wooden paneling screams RV. That, and I'd say, I guess, your number 2 ID would be the fact that there are blinds on 2 sides of this apartment, which is quite unusual. Blinds on 2 sides, a secondary roof, an actual roof hatch. It's way too cramped to be anything else. There's lots of space for storage in an RV. Hell yeah, there is. I pretended to make tea as I tried to find room on the top shelf. Okay, there's just enough room for one more magazine. And then I heard a sound like a small fart from behind me. I glanced around and saw Sakura was using the mouse with one hand and fiddling with her Garo Froggy Garono strap with the other. This was my chance. The Garo Froggy Garono strap was a soft vinyl cell phone strap I'd won in a candy contest when I was a kid. When you pushed its belly, it was supposed to go Garo Garo. It turned out to be an incredibly rare prize that could fetch 100,000 yen at an auction. But since I was a kid who didn't know any better, I gave it to Sarika as a present. Sarika seemed to really like it, and ever since she'd carried it with her. Which, well, that's fine, but... It was old and faded, and when you pressed its belly, air leaked out of its side and made a weird noise. It used to go Gero Gero, I think, but now it just makes a strange whooshing sound. Ever since she was a kid, she'd had a habit of fiddling with it, especially when she was nervous or focused on something. In other words, she was focused on the computer. Now was my chance to hide it. I jammed the magazine onto the shelf and moved some things so she couldn't see it.
マウンテンビューでいいか？
Ah, want a mountain view? Yes, everyone's favorite drink, Mountain View.
いいよ。もったいないじゃん。
Don't
それ
waste
に
it.
すぐに帰るし。
I'm leaving in a second anyway.
はい、終了。
Hi. Oh, I'm all done. Mountain View, of course. Of course he likes. Wow, I was really confused for a second there. I saw the desktop picture and was like, the fuck? I don't have a folder like that. Alright. We got a retro Windows 7 interface. Cool. There were quite a few files on the screen. Interesting. Internet escape, Hashi face, after action, photo store element. My brain? My brain is the name of his computer? Interesting. Kato? It's Kato? Dot card? Yeah, interesting, okay. We got four drives. We got 4 drives, interesting, okay. I'm surprised how much detail they put into this one picture. There's a lot of details in this. Like, they even got the keyboard language right. They got the keyboard set up very close to the right thing. They, like, made their own version of the Windows 7 logo. Like, everything looks very close to legit, right? It's really weird. Like, if you just look at this out of your corner of your eye, you're gonna be like, are we even in a game? Damn, I like that. You took a lot of pictures. Any luck?
新しい発見はなかったよ。
I didn't
タ
see
クは
anything new. Who are you
新しい
talking?
共通点見つかった？
Find anything new that connects the two cases? I think what's her face is dead.
いや、
No. I shook my head, frustrated.
そっか。まあ気長に行こう。じゃあ明日部室で。
Oh, thanks for the follow, hero. I see. Let's not get frustrated yet. I'll see you in the club room tomorrow. Just as she was about to leave, I got an idea.
あ、尾上。
Oh, no way. I need to double check my information. She was, in theory, a girl.
あのさ、例えばなんだけど。
I'm just asking, but...
うん。
ああ、なんていうか、お前が告白されたとしてさ。
Let's say someone asked you out.
うん？
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Is this gonna be cringe?
いや、だから例えばこう言われたらどう？誠に勝手なのですが、好きになってもいいですかって。
Just hypothetically, okay? What would you think if they said, I know this is extremely selfish of me, but may I fall in love with you?
さっき言ってたやつ？
Is that what you were just saying?
それはいいから。
Never mind that.
どう？
What do you think? Sakura thought for a second. Or Sarika. I assumed Sakura. That was completely wrong. Sarika.
年下なの？その人。
Is this person younger than me? No, go right. Wait, did I have a choice here?
Eh?
Positive, negative? Did I have a choice there?
丁寧語だから。
Since they're being so polite. It's true, come to think of it. Why was it so polite anyway?
年下なのかな。
I had a
そうじゃ
panic
なくて。
moment.
どう？
I mean, never mind that. What do you think? Shit, man. I thought I had to
どうっ
pick.
て丁寧だなって思
Oh,
う
you
け
can
ど。
slide? How do you slide? I think it's really polite, but... Alright.
告白されたことないからよくわかんない。
Nobody's ever asked me out, so I don't know.
他には何か思わないか？こう、
I guess we're getting the neutral route where we don't make a decision. Anything else like, oh, how romantic?
別に相手によるんじゃない？
Well, not really. That would depend on the person, right?
あ、そうだ。忘れてた。
I pressed Q and E. It gave me the skip prompt and... Hold up. E is the skip mode. What does Q do? Don't know. Hope I didn't just skip something. Hold up. That would depend on the person, right? ... What's going on, Cool Cat? I guess we did skip some text. That's annoying. Okay. So maybe not pressing E or Q. Probably something like right. Probably have to do it when the prompt comes up. Sarika stretched out her hand. I wasn't expecting quick times here. I wasn't expecting quick times. Give me 500 yen.
Eh?
I wasn't expecting quick times in this game. It's like been so chill so far and slow paced, and then suddenly like surprise bitch. It said C. Yeah, I can see that delusion trigger, right? It said C. Alright, they didn't actually tell you that in a tutorial, or give you a tutorial for that. That's moderately annoying, but not the end of the world. So we'll keep our hands on ZC, so we don't miss any of those in the future. Wait, I don't hate the fact that I missed it. I more hate the fact they didn't tell me about it. As this game has very unusual controls. Like, as you can see from this keyboard layout, like, E, Z, C, square brackets, F1 through F12, insert, delete, backspace, and arrow keys. As well as left control and 1. Like, you unironically have to... Oh yeah, and then, like, going forwards and scrolling text. It's like you're on your mouse, so you're like, I need both hands on my keyboard and a hand on my mouse to, like, manage this game, which is kind of weird, considering it's a visual novel. It feels a little bit weird. Anyway. Alright. Because, yeah, it's either enter or I believe space kind of works for this. For us going through text. Anyway. She showed me the paper bag she was holding.
さっきそこでゲンさんに会ったの。特にいつものだって言って渡してくれって。特価で500円でいいって立て替えたの。
Ported VNs always have great controls. I mean, sometimes they have really simple controls. Like, simple is fine. If it's, like, super simple and you maybe have mouse navigation, I'd kind of like that, but... Yeah, this has curious controls. I just ran it again. Again. You gave me this. Said it was your usual. I paid him 500 yen for it.
いつもの?
Usual? Confused, I took the bag from her. Gen's usual changed every time I talked to him, so I couldn't count on it. What was it today? What is it gonna be? Is it gonna be like all adult magazines? That drunk old bastard. All adult stuff, right?
何? いつものって。
What's your usual?
なんでもない。ほら、500円。
Here, 500 yen. Yep. I forced 500 yen into her hands. Ignoring her persistent questions, I led her to the door. Yep.
明日、学校で。
I'll see you at school tomorrow.
え?
Getting kicked out?
データはありがとう。
Thanks for the pictures, they're a big help. Yep.
わかったよ。
Bye. Oof. Alright. Reluctantly, she left my room. It feels like there's a double space between the comma and the first character when they do this. Interesting typeset. Anyone else get the impression here? Like, if you're looking at this, I'm gonna use my mouse. I feel like the spacing here, the spacing between these, the comma and the S, is significantly more than like the spacing between the E and the L here, or the T and the M. Which I'm positive is. It's like they kept all the spacing, so like their font doesn't cut the spacing here. Typically commas don't actually take as much space as, like, say, the letter R. As you can see with, like, the letter L, the L clearly takes less horizontal space than, say, E or U. But in this case, it looks like their font actually takes more space than normal for commas, or it doesn't have like appropriate. I forget what the term is. There's a term for like how much you're allowed to overlap based on what the following character is, and the preceding character was. I forget what that's called. So they don't have that set up right for this font, or at least not set up like in a way that looks supernatural, at least to my eyes. Anyway, not a big deal. It doesn't really stop me from reading. It's just like, oh, there's like an extra long pause. Damn. Let's guess. I guessed adult magazines, right? Sure enough, this is what I always bought from Gen. Oh, it is. Okay. The information in the last one was no good. That's what he's concerned about? What the heck was a cool cat anyway? A cold cat? Is it cold because it's dead? I guess it's Japanese. He's Japanese, right? He doesn't know what cool is? Doesn't know what cool is? 100 ways to secretly show your sexy side.
じゃない。
No, no. I needed to hide this too. I had so many of them now, I was running out of room on the top shelf. His friend's basically giving him copies of Cosmo? That's the impression I'm getting. That wasn't that was like a tagline I would expect to see on Cosmopolitan. That is not a tagline I'd expect to see on an adult magazine. It feels more like it's something that's like Cosmo. Alright. What's it? When I tried to force it in, a mountain of old papers came falling out. Why not just throw these useless magazines out if you don't fucking want them, man? Damn it, no room. I think he needs to hide. What's this? It was an old scrapbook about the murders that had occurred 6 years ago in Shibuya. I bought it from Gen too, come to think of it. Gen? Oh, what's it, Gen? No, it's Gen. I'd already scanned it, but I'd forgotten to throw out the original. How could I, of all people, be so lax with information? I'll just have to bundle it with the rest of my collection. My eyes lingered for a second on the page. Come to think of it... What did you... I came up... or quickly ran over to my PC. I opened the files on the case I'd been looking for. Seriously? My words were a whisper. I looked back at the scrapbook and then compared it to the data on the PC. There was no doubt. I kept looking at it and it kept saying the same thing. But this... if my hypothesis was right... I'm sure even the police haven't noticed. This guy uses Internet Explorer. Alright. How many people think he's hold up. I need to get this F4, right? Need to get my lingo right. Alright, QE is tab. How many people think he is a wrong-sider? This is 2015, ladies and gentlemen. This is not ages ago. This is set 6 years ago. Using Internet Explorer in 2015. Is he a wrong-sider? Is he a complete fucking potato for using Internet Explorer 6 years ago as his main internet browser? At first I thought he was lazy and didn't manage it. Now he's actually using IE to browse the internet. Alright. What's this read? Strange sumo stickers increasing in Shibuya? I don't care about the sumo stickers. I don't know if I want to read this whole text. They're apparently creepy sumo stickers. Wait, hold up. I can scroll through this. Oh my god. It's actually a web page insert. They actually emulate a web page. Okay. Lately, stickers with the face of a sumo wrestler have been appearing around Shibuya. Reiterated. You started seeing them on signs and guardrails all over Shibuya 5 or 6 years ago. There's a lot of other stickers put up by graffiti artists, but Shibuya in particular has a huge number of these sumo stickers. Some have speculated they're a message from a terrorist group or perhaps a cult, but as of now there's nothing more than a hypothesis. When asked about the stickers, a 41-year-old man who worked at Shinan Shibuya Hair Salon said they're creepy. I wish whoever it was would stop destroying the landscape. Sometimes residents will take them down only to see them reappear later. Shibuya City Hall says, quote, "We are continuing the community outreach efforts to help stop these stickers from being put up, but there are no plans to use city funds to remove the stickers." Police have said that placing these stickers on public property is a misdemeanor, but it's extremely difficult to prosecute without catching someone in the act of doing so. They have no current plans for dealing with the stickers either. Citizens are going to be stuck with these for a while, it seems, and he's got a hyperlink to zakozako.co.jp, which I believe is intended to be a news site, or the source of this. Alright. After I first saw one 2 years ago, I've just been seeing them everywhere. It seems like it's even more lately. Saw another one today, another one. Lots of pictures of these weird photos. What the fuck, lol, this guy's responding to the first image. There was one under the escalator at Ikario. How the hell did they get one under there? Took this a few years back. I wonder if it's still there. I saw that one. It's crazy. So, there is one under there, confirmed. Gotsuan Dosu. Alright, more stickers. I always feel sick when I see that face. Once I threw up when I saw one of those stickers. Shit sucks. Whoever put them up needs to fuck off and die, I believe is that acronym, right? I assume that's what they're doing. That was the first thing that sprang to my mind was FOAD would be fuck off and die. But again, literally talking about digital stickers. I heard if you scribble on top of one, the sumo wrestler curses you. Anyone else notice it's almost impossible to get the damn things on? Saw my first one today. Stop upping these things, and there's a shit ton of them if you image search. I actually saw one of the stickers while talking once. It was yelling Doskoi. Doskoi. Time for your meds, Grandpa. Someone make a delude map that lists all their locations. You'll be at it for years. If you go to Shibuya and get stare raped by sumo wrestlers, right? I don't understand the people who go to Shibuya who enjoy that. They should just put a bunch of cute anime girl stickers instead, like Hanoa or Saraton. Then all the otaku dorks would move from Akihabara to Shibuya. I vote for Kengetsu Kamiyama. I feel pressure coming from Yokoku. This is my prophecy unto you. Someday we'll see a sumo judge sticker. True. True. Okay. I wasn't expecting to be able to interact with that. That was cool. At this point, only a few people were talking about the sumo wrestler stickers. This is an image board from today. I don't know how much people are supposed to know how fortune works, so basically the threads will disappear. So everything's going to be relatively recent. As they either reach their post limit. They either reach their post limit or new threads are made. As the one that's been updated the least every time a new thread is made gets deleted. Or least recently. Who could have known that these eerie stickers would mark the beginning of a world-changing event? Oh. World-changing. Okay.
De, これが今月の7日に起きた事件の週刊誌の特集の画像。
Interesting. And this is where we go. And this is a magazine article about the incident that occurred on the 7th.
7日ってニコニア生放送中の公開自殺か。読んだよ、その記事。
The 7th, the suicide that took place during a Nikonia stream, right? I read that article.
自殺と決まったわけじゃないけどな。それにネットではこっちみんなって言い方が主流になってきてる。で、これがその生放送の映像。
We don't know for sure it was a suicide though. People on the net are calling it a don't look at me case. The don't look at me case. And here's the video, the broadcast.
それも見た。つうか一緒に見ただろう。
We saw it together.
で、これがその現場の建物。
And here's the building it took place in.
さらに追加してきた。
Oh, no way took more pictures of it for me yesterday. Okay.
それも知ってるって。
I know that too.
で、これがその部屋の中。
And this is the inside of his room.
は？嘘。
No way.
撮ったの？いつ？てかどうやって？
Yeah, when and how did you take the picture? I guess he got his friend to go take those, because clearly he didn't do that. I like how this guy's name is just Schoolboy. Until then, Ito had been disinterestedly pointing his camera at the colorful decorations in the hallway, but this got his attention. Of course it did. No one else had seen these pictures yet.
先週末な。現場向かいのカラオケボックスの5階の部屋から見えるんだよ。
Last weekend, you can see the room from the 5th floor of the karaoke place on the other side of the street.
マジで？
Seriously?
ここ
Here.
この5階から。
This is the 5th floor. Yeah, he's in Shibuya, we knew that. You could always count on him to be interested when it came to new information.
で、何？
So
お前
what?
一人で入ったのか？
Going in by yourself?
は？
I like how that guy's name was introduced. His name wasn't introduced in the dialogue, but his name suddenly appeared. His full name
いや
appeared.
カラオケボックスに
Shinji
人
Ito.
から
I mean, you went to the karaoke place by yourself? For karaoke. Alone.
仕方ないだろ。
I didn't have a choice,
別に
did I?
恥ずかしいことじゃない。
It's
そ
not
れに歌ったわ
embarrassing.
けじゃないから、正確には人からとは言わない。
I didn't even sing, so it wasn't really karaoke. Very defensive for someone who is just there to take photos. To be honest, I was a little embarrassed. The guy at the counter, who probably was just a part-timer, had stared at me suspiciously. Maybe I'd attracted his attention by coming in during the middle of the day in my uniform. Since I'd never been there before, he made me fill out membership paperwork. Ugh. I didn't know how to do it, so it took a long-ass time. And actually, I'd never actually been to a karaoke place before in my life.
よしここは OK
That
次行こう
sounds
ぜ
annoying. Alright, I got these. Let's go to the next one.
めんどくさいな。
This is such a pain. So we're following our buddy around. We went over to the gym from the second floor hallway. It was filled with students laughing over who knows what. The whole school was getting ready for the culture festival next week. This year's festival was supposed to be a big one. Heikiko Academy was the first private high school built as part of the restoration efforts, and so it was attracting a lot of attention. One reason why everyone was so excited for the school fair was the school's lax rules with lots of clubs and activities, but the biggest reason was the Shibuya Peace and Restoration Festival 2 months from now. 2 months from now, on November 9th, would mark 6 years since the Shibuya earthquake. The 5-year anniversary fair last year had affected the whole town, and since the school was in Shibuya too, it would include us. We were just a simple high school, but now our culture festival is being treated as a prelude to the big one, and supposedly there would even be TV cameras filming the day of the event.
うわあのパチモンの着ぐるみ大丈夫かよつかなんで今着てんだ
Wow, aren't those costumes copyrighted? Can they get away with that? Wait, why are they wearing them now? Ito turned his camera toward a group of people pretending to be pro wrestlers. Ito and I were in the newspaper club, and it was our job to record the festivities. The principal had ordered all clubs to participate in the culture festival, and recording the festivities was our way of getting by without having to do much work. Recording video and taking photos was my hobby, and more than anything, it seemed like the way that would demand I burn the fewest calories. I couldn't see myself participating in the usual festival nonsense, like fried baseball ice cream stand, or whatever. It's probably just regular fried ice cream in a ball. Or the pro wrestling research club's most mascot pro wrestling, or even the seance that the mystery club and fortune telling club were putting on. Damn, they got some interesting clubs here.
暇なんだろ。
They probably just don't have anything better to do.
ヒゲを引っ張んなってもげる
Don't pull my whiskers. Whiskers? You'll rip them off.
はあ、これ触覚じゃないの？
Aren't these antennae?
どう思うよ。
What do you
触
think if they
覚だ
were
としたらもいだ方がゆるキャラっぽくないか？
if they were antennae? Wouldn't you look cuter if that you ripped them off?
え？何？
What?
私、そのくだらない質問に答えなきゃダメ？
Do I really have to answer a stupid question?
くそリア充め
Goddamn
ただれ
animals.
死んでしまえ
Die in a fire. Nice guy. Nice guy.
おい、リア充をバカにするなよ。僕だってリア充だ。
Don't make fun of normals. I'm a normal. Ah!
あバカカメラ
The camera! He dropped it! That thing's expensive.
おいどういうことだ
What do you mean?
殺せカメ
The camera.
ラ裏切ったのか
Did you
レベル
betray
下がっ
me?
たかいつ
Did you
彼
lose
女
a
を
level?
作りやがった
When did you get a girlfriend? I don't have a
できてない
girlfriend.
よ。彼女なんて。
Forgot that. Pick up the camera.
何
What? I slipped out of Ito's grasp and picked up the camera. I see. Hen tax. Interesting. Interesting play. I relaxed and handed the camera back to Ito.
まったく。しっかりしろよ。
just
僕
get a hold of
らはあい
yourself.
つらと違って状況だろ。一石舞踏か。
We're not like them. We're right-siders, right? Want me to give you a lecture on it?
いいか。リア充ってのは2005年あたりから使われ出した言葉で、
Listen.
リアル、つまり現実が充実している連中の総称だ。
The term normal first came into use in the Japanese internet around 2005. It referred to someone whose daily life was fulfilling and
最
satisfying.
初は対義語としてネト中が挙げられることが多かったけど、その境目はもうほとんどない。リアルの中にネットが組み込まれてるのが当たり前になったからな。
Originally, the term netizen existed as antonym, but that distinction barely exists anymore because the internet is now an integral part of everyday life. Fair enough, I can see why
当
that's
初は友達がいるだけでリア充と呼ばれていたけど、次第に恋人がいることがリア充の条件になっていった。だがこれも変わりつつある。
When it first came into use, simply having friends was enough to qualify as normal, but gradually the requirement shifted into having a lover, but this too is changing. Again, the spacing. Like, this is a huge amount of spacing. Anyway, it feels
昨
weird.
今のリア充は本当の意味で現実が充実しているかどうか、つまりやりたいことができているかどうかで判断されるんだ。そういう意味で僕はリア充だ。
The modern definition of normal is now someone whose life is truly satisfying, that is, someone who's doing what they really want to do. In that sense, I'm normal.
だから暇に任せてふざけているあいつらはリア充なんかじゃないんだよ。言葉は正しく使え。
Therefore, the people over there who are screwing around and wasting time aren't normals at all. You need to use words correctly. How do you know they don't? That's not what they want to do. How do you know that's not what they want to do? How do you know that person doesn't feel that their purpose in life is to hang out with their friends or to practice pro wrestling or whatever? That seems like a pretty glaring hole in your concept. As you can't really objectively measure whether or not someone is enjoying what they do and if they're satisfied with life simply by looking at them. Seriously, he needs to be careful. Just being a wrong sider by itself is a sin these days. After I finished my lecture, I saw Ito was staring at me wordlessly. What, did he not understand it? I'd walked him through the entire etymology.
宮代、
なんだ
Yeah, sure. What?
お前はリア充じゃないよ。言葉は正しく使おうな。
You're not a normal. Let's use words correctly, okay? What?
なぜだ。
Why?
リア充はそんなこと言わない。
Normals don't talk like that.
は
Wait,
だから、なんでだ。それに補強するなら女子の知り合いもいるんだぞ。もちろん男も。
Wait, why? You know, I've got acquaintances who are women and men too.
だから、
I just
リ
told
ア充
you.
はそんなこと言わないんだよ。
Normals don't talk like that.
理由はなんだ。理由はさらに付け加えるならな。
What's the reason? Might I also add? I quickly swallowed my words.
ファッションの勉強だってしているんだ。
I'm studying fashion too. I read that new issue of Cool Cat before I put it away. There was an article called Utsunomiya's Fashion Leader. I thought it looked pretty good. If I could wear that stuff, I'm sure
ん
he's gonna
なん
go.
だよ。
Wait. What would be a guy who's into high fashion?
僕はな。
Nothing, I'm telling you. What would be a guy who's into high fashion? If you're like big into like specific fashion scenes, you'd be like, that's like part of being gyaru, right? I don't even know what I'd call a guy there, but alright. Like, I'm telling you.
ああ、分かったって。
Sure.
次行こうぜ。
Whatever, man, let's go. As he walked away, I turned my eyes towards the group of mascot pro wrestlers.
わかった。じゃあもう全員で同じ着ぐるみにしようぜ。
Alright then, we'll all wear the same outfit.
ああ、戦隊もの風だ。
Sentai
色分
Ranger.
けしようよ。私イエロー。
She calls dibs on the yellow ranger. Alright.
その方が受け取れるか。
The audience would love it,
で
but
も予算は
we have the budget?
あんたの小遣いがあるじゃん。
We got your allowance, right?
バカじゃないの
Shut
それか体に直接塗るか受け取れればいいんでしょ。
Or we could paint the colors onto our bodies. It just has to get last, right? Ooh. Body painting, so it's...
忙しいんだ。
Alright, I'm busy.
おかえりなさいませ、ご主人様ケロン。
Alright, guys. Well, I'm glad our new protagonist is exploring the school and having the time of his life. I'm enjoying this, but unfortunately, I think it's getting a little bit late and it's time to wrap things up. Alright, guys. Thanks for hanging out. I hope you had a great time, and I'll see you guys next time.